Sewald new wife revealed and Jessa divorced. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For Duggar family latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. Started as a whisper of faint, almost unbelievable rumor on a fan forum, lost in the scroll of 1,000 speculations. But within weeks, that whisper grew into a deafening roar echoing across social media. Sewald has remarried. Jessa Duggar is no longer in the picture. What had happened to the golden couple of reality TV fame Ben and Jessa? Once the picture of youthful love and Christian devotion. Fans of the Duggar family made famous through shows like 19 Kids and Counting On were shocked, confused, and in many cases heartbroken. But behind the filtered Instagram smiles and scripted confessional interviews lay a truth few could have imagined. This is the story entirely fictional, though rooted in the drama Duggar fans might expect of heartbreak, rebirth, and one man's search for redemption. Cracks in the perfect picture. Ben and Jessa had always seemed like the perfect match. Ben, quiet and thoughtful, had pursued Jessa with a gentle passion that viewers found endearing. Their wedding in 2014 had been the talk of the town. A modest but joy-filled ceremony aired for millions, but behind the scenes, life was not always so picturesque. After nearly a decade of marriage and 4 children, things began to change. Jessa, once a doting wife and passionate homemaker, had grown tired. Pressure to present a flawless image, to smile even when her world was crumbling, became too much. Ben, now in his early 30s, had quietly begun studying theology with hopes of becoming a pastor. His long hours in study and ministry, though noble, created distance in their marriage. The emotional intimacy that once glued them together had faded. Conversations became brief. Arguments lingered. And the emotional support they once offered each other turned into cold civility. "We were more like co-workers running a household," Jessa later admitted in an exclusive fictional interview. "We weren't thriving. We were surviving." The breaking point: it was during the pandemic years that the real toll began to show. Locked indoors with 4 children, homeschooling, housework, and mounting pressure from fans to post regular updates, Jessa began to spiral emotionally. She took frequent breaks from social media, citing mental exhaustion. Ben, meanwhile, had become increasingly drawn into online theological debates and Zoom-based ministry events. Jessa felt abandoned. The couple began seeing a Christian counselor in 2022. But by mid-2023, it was clear to both of them. Something was broken beyond repair. In October 2023, Ben moved out of their Arkansas home, a quiet departure without public announcement. The Duggar family, known for its unified front, went silent. Fans speculated. Rumors swirled. But Jessa and Ben maintained silence, at least publicly. Privately, the divorce was finalized by February 2024. A new name, a new life. It wasn't until mid-2025 that the world heard the name Elena Grace. A soft-spoken woman in her early 30s with a background in Christian counseling and a master's degree in divinity, Elena had met Ben during an online faith conference in late 2023. Their connection was immediate, not romantic at first, but rooted in mutual understanding. Elena had also walked through a painful divorce. She had a young daughter. They bonded over faith, shared values, and a longing for emotional healing. For months, their relationship was platonic. They exchanged messages about scripture, prayed for each other, and offered support, but by early 2025, something shifted. Ben, still reeling from the end of his marriage but healing steadily, began to see Elena not just as a friend but as a partner, someone who understood his heart. On July 4, 2025, in a private ceremony attended by close friends and a few family members, notably not all the Duggars, Ben and Elena were married. Jessa, now focused on rebuilding her own life, was not present. The aftermath. News of Ben's remarriage leaked just weeks later. A distant cousin accidentally posted a congratulatory message on Instagram, tagging both Ben and Elena. Duggar fan pages erupted. Sad and Kudos read one trending headline. Sewald finds love again while Jessa rebuilds solo. The internet split into factions. Some fans blamed Ben, accusing him of emotional abandonment. Others criticized Jessa, calling her cold and too independent. But many more offered support. Let's not forget, one fan tweeted that marriages are real, not fairy tales. Sometimes love changes. It's heartbreaking but human. Jessa broke her silence with a cryptic post on Instagram. A black and white photo of her children running in a field captioned simply, "Peace is worth the fight." Ben, on the other hand, offered a more formal statement. "I know there will be questions, criticism, and confusion. But I ask for grace. Jessa and I both fought hard for our marriage. We grew apart and we grieved. My new marriage is not a betrayal. It's a step forward. One taken with prayer, humility, and respect." Jessa's new chapter. Despite the heartbreak, Jessa Duggar Sewald was not down for long. Friends close to the family, again fictional, revealed that Jessa had begun working on a book titled Unscripted: Faith, Family, and Finding My Voice. Part memoir, part devotional, it explored her journey from sheltered girl to independent woman of faith. She also returned to social media, more authentic than ever. No longer striving to be the perfect wife or mom influencer, she posted messy kitchens, teary confessions, and raw moments of laughter with her kids. Her followers responded with overwhelming support. "Jessa, this is the realest you've ever been," one comment read. "Thank you for showing us that healing is possible." She reportedly began attending a new church, one that emphasized personal growth, community healing, and women's leadership. Some sources claim she even led a women's Bible study group for divorced moms. Though the pain lingered, Jessa's life had taken on a new light. She was no longer defined by the Duggar name or her former marriage. She was carving her own path. The Duggar divide. The Duggar family's response to the divorce and remarriage was predictably complicated. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar were said to be deeply disappointed but publicly supportive of both Jessa and Ben, urging fans not to judge. Behind the scenes, however, the divide was clear. Some siblings, particularly Jinger and Jill, supported Jessa, praising her courage and independence. Others remained silent, reportedly uncomfortable with the idea of divorce and remarriage. Family gatherings grew tense. Holidays were split. And the once tightly wound Duggar clan now showed visible cracks, the kind that happen when children grow, evolve, and find their own way. Looking ahead, by late 2025, both Ben and Jessa had settled into new routines. Ben and Elena co-parented her daughter and began serving in a small community church in Tennessee. Their life was quieter, less public. Ben, who once stood in the spotlight, had finally found contentment in the shadows. Jessa, now a single mom of 4, was stronger than ever. Her book was set to release in early 2026. Rumors of a podcast deal swirled. Her Instagram stories, though unfiltered, were filled with laughter, crafts, worship songs, and late-night talks with her sisters. In one video, she looked directly into the camera and said, "I don't need a perfect life to be blessed. I need real love, real faith, and real grace. And I'm finally there." The truth behind the headlines. What began as a tabloid shock: Jessa Duggar divorced. Ben Sewald finds second wife became, in time, a story of resilience. It was never about scandal or betrayal. It was about people growing, hurting, and healing. About love that sometimes ends and sometimes begins again. About faith that evolves and families that bend without breaking. Life in the Duggar orbit had never been normal. But for Ben and Jessa, their most human moments, their failures, their recoveries, became their most inspiring ones. And in the end, maybe that's what fans had wanted all along. Jinger Duggar opens up about overwhelming visit with large family. Jinger Vualone Duggar admitted that it can be overwhelming to visit her large family in Arkansas after she relocated to California. During the Wednesday, July 2nd episode of their Jinger and Jeremy podcast, Jinger, 31, and her husband Jeremy Vualo discussed their last-minute trip with their children, Felicity, 6, Evangeline, 4, and Finn, 3 months, to see her family, including parents Jim Bob Duggar and Michelle Duggar, in her home state. "It is so exciting. I love going back to visit," Jinger shared. "And at the same time, it's overwhelming because we live away. There are a couple siblings who live away now, just a few. And when you live away from family and then you come back, everybody wants to see you. Everybody wants to connect with you, and it can be so tough to juggle all that." Jinger added that trying to coordinate stuff with her family has become even more complicated as her 18 siblings continue to have more kids. Despite feeling stress about seeing everyone, Jinger insisted she had a good time on the trip. "A ton of people went to the big house and our kids got to see all the animals that they have there," she said, referring to Jim Bob, 59, and Michelle's home. "That was super fun." Jeremy, 37, pointed out that it had been a long time since they were at the big house. Jinger said it was wild to realize how much her family has changed over the years. "When we first walked in, everything's clean," the former TLC star said. "It's like perfectly clean. Typically, when you walk into the big house, it's kinda messy. We would clean the house every night and it would be spotless, ready to go. But when you walk in at like 2 p.m. on a weekday and the house is clean, I thought, okay, this is a different season of life. Because you have maybe 5 kids who live there now and they're all grown, so that's strange. Jinger shared that she didn't go into her old bedroom, though Jeremy revealed that he showed their daughters where mommy would sleep. It was fun stepping back into that old property and just seeing the family, Jinger said. I think my younger siblings, that's the part that's really fun. I love seeing how they've grown and matured, what they're into now. 'Cause when I left, that was a long time ago and those little kids are all grown up. It's hard for me to picture the little kids as teenagers and as adults now. Kinda wild. Jinger Duggar says it's strange to go home to parents Jim, Bob, and Michelle's house as an adult. It's always a little weird to go back home after moving out and starting your own life, something even Jinger Duggar is all too familiar with. During this week's episode of the Jinger and Jeremy podcast, she opened up about her recent visit home to Arkansas and how strange she felt being back in Jim, Bob, and Michelle's house again after so much has changed. Jinger, husband Jeremy Vualo, and their 3 children visited her family back home in June, and although she said the trip was so exciting, it was also overwhelming at times, partly because having such a big family means having a lot of people to plan time with. There are a couple siblings who live away now, just a few. And when you live away from family and then you come back, everybody wants to see you, she said. Everybody wants to connect with you, and it can be so tough to juggle all that. They ended up spending a lot of time at her parents' house, which Jinger and her siblings refer to as the big house because it's big enough to accommodate anyone who might have wanted to stop by and see them. The changes that have been made there recently were immediately obvious to Jinger, the first being how clean it is without so many kids running around making messes. It's like perfectly clean. Typically, when you walk into the big house, it's kinda messy, she explained on the podcast. We would clean the house every night and it would be spotless, ready to go. But when you walk in at like 2 p.m. on a weekday and the house is clean, I thought, okay, this is a different season of life. Because you have maybe 5 kids who live there now and they're all grown, so that's strange. These days, the youngest kid in Jim, Bob, and Michelle's house is 15-year-old Josie, so the time when toys would be scattered everywhere is long behind them. But despite the strangeness, Jinger said she had fun, and that it was kinda wild to see her youngest siblings turning into adults. I love seeing how my younger siblings have grown and matured, what they're into now, she shared on the podcast. 'Cause when I left, that was a long time ago and those little kids are all grown up. It's hard for me to picture the little kids as teenagers and as adults now.